Welcome to a new episode of the Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as a couple of our most recent, Maneuvering with Neutrality and Alignment during this next wave of unfoldments, and Deprogram Clearing Empowerment Workshop. You could also join us in our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As the more of us coming together and creating a shift in oneself, the more effective it'll be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
So welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. This is your explorative, expansive series. We get to play together as we normally do when we gather. So today we're going to play with episode 66, and it's a carryover from the one we did on Saturday, which is episode 65. So if you haven't seen episode 65, I would highly recommend that you do. There's also a meditation process that was involved in that one there to kind of activate things. I also provided on the platforms a separate version of just the activation so that you don't have to go through the whole thing for the second time and third time whenever you want to re-listen to it. But if you haven't listened to the whole thing, it's a very powerful episode. Today we're going to carry on with that episode, and we're just going to do some more hands-on work right now because we want to really get into play of playing that powerful role that we have chosen to play in what we call the game of life. So what are we looking at? Shifting the game of life. And then, of course, the process is the process. So shifting the game of life. We're all playing games. And if you remember in episode 65, we play a multitudes of different games. Of course, we have the big game, which is a global game. And then we're confined or kind of constructed in smaller games, which may be involving a country, a community, a family dynamics, work, your home, your personal. Those are all different playgrounds, and each one are staged differently. Each one has many different participants, and the interchanging, exchanging, and playfulness will vary. Now, we have to understand there's no change that occurs with you that does not affect each of those levels of the game, including the global game. And you have to understand whatever happens also in the global game is also affecting our whole solar system and all the associated planets, the ones we see and the ones we don't see. Plus, it also affects in one way or another also our whole galaxy, specifically focused on the quadrant that we are the hub of, and then more of its expanded version of the galaxy and the universe. So let's localize it. Let's start here. So now we're understanding the game. However, what's the biggest thing we run into? We start to play life, and we have been conditioned and programmed to take any part of the game of life and make it real. Now that serves, and it's been an awesome experience, and whatever else that played out with that has served us and brought us where we are today. However, we have chosen now to look at the game for what it is, as a game. Now, when we took it on as realism, we took on not only the game as real, we actually became the game. We immersed so deeply in it that we didn't even see the game. We were so in it, but at the same time, while you were playing the game to that degree, we further disconnected. And when I say further disconnected, we reduced access to our true essence, our access to our true beingness, and even levels of consciousness. Let me give you some examples, just to expand it before we get into the play part. When you go to your family gathering of sorts, you're entering a field of game. There's various individuals involved. Now, there's a collective energy, there's a collective protocol, and each one is fitting in those protocols. Each one is playing whatever role. So you have the opportunity now to enter that family dynamics and get immersed in the game. And when I say immersed in the game, you're going to go into the game and you can take on whatever rules and subtleties and whatever else has been organized within the group. Now, if you go right into it and you give yourself into the game, you lose the capacity of experiencing it as a game, but you become the game. You now become everyone that's playing different roles. Of course, you're going to play a role too. Now, that entails a reduction of options, a reduction of consciousness, a reduction of freedom. Now, it is a free will choice to do so, but most of the time we don't even realize that it was a free will choice. You just go right into that game as a default, and that's the thing that we get caught up in. So as much as that is an awesome game, and I'm just giving you one example here, it's an awesome game, the call right now for us in creating any form of shift to really upgrade at any level at this time, you cannot any longer go to the same degree as before into the game and get lost in the game. You can have a temporary emergence and connection to it, but the call within you is to see it as a game, to get into the creator mode of the game, meaning that you will construct and redirect it. Not because you have an issue with the game, not because the game in one way or another irritates you, or that the game in some way is something that you have to go change or fix or anything of that nature. And we're still sticking to the example of the family. You're going to go in there as you, knowing it's a game. And by knowing it's a game, you can actually now observe everything that's playing out, and you can step in and playing different roles within it that feels most guided to create a certain shifting or creating a certain environment to kind of create a morphing, changing state within that family dynamic. Not that you're going in there as your responsibility to do so, or the fact that you have to go fix anybody. No, you're stepping into the game as you, the conscious being. And yes, you know, we're going to continue to evolve, we're going to continue to expand, become more enlightened or whatever, but you're going to go in at the level that you're at. And you're going to go in and play whatever the game is on your terms. So that what ends up happening as you're doing so, the interaction change, the dynamics of the game, of that family unit, the communication level changes, the engagement changes, even the response changes. Because you're kind of a catalyst that stepped into that game to create a shift. But you're going in there as you, playing as you, with no directive, motive, or agenda to change anything. You're just being you in that pure sense. But as the observer, that is just one unit of game, you can always be the observer much more clearly And what happens as you're doing so, you can see more of your default patterns that may want to have a tendency to drop in a certain way. You get to see some of your programs and stories or anything else that is still kind of operating you, driving you, that your ego is using in one way or another. That actually, what it does is expedites the changes within you by being able to access all of those points and make more conscientious, observed states of changes within you. So you now get to see those facets of the old you, the old roles, the old game that you participated. Now, any game we play, when we get immersed in the game, we collect. We collect patterns, programs, and so forth. This is one of the reasons that we end up shifting when we go, say, in the family unit. I'm just using this as one example. This works with friendships, it works with work environment, it works with your community, it works with your own immediate family, it works with your partners, it works on all levels, no matter where you are. So when you're playing the game and you get lost in the game, there's a tendency to want to mingle and become part of that game and the individuals involved. So what happens is you take on certain patterns, belief systems, and programs. Now, it's going to be catered to you, so you're not going to just replicate what somebody else is doing. That happens, but I'm not saying that's what you're going to do. But you're going to see and create something within yourself that will create some consistency with the different individuals that you play. If you pay attention as the observer, not only do you change when you go into the family gathering, because now you're matching, and I'm saying this as the observer, you're matching what the overall energetic, conscious, and play is all about. But each time you deal or communicate or connect with the different individuals at that gathering, you will notice that you will make subtle changes, in some cases, profound changes, not only in your communication, possibly your role, even your energy shifts. Okay? That's when you're going in and you're not seeing it as a game, you're not seeing it as the observer, and you're not going in as you. You may have the intention to start off as you. And this you thing can get confusing because we have to understand we have created many versions of you or us or whatever you want to call yourselves, depending on whatever labels and definitions and so forth that we may have applied during these interactions, during these dances that we've had within the family dynamics and our work environment and our friendships and our own communities and immediate family, could be siblings, could be in this case your own kids or whatever it is, or parents, whatever. It depends on how we look at it, and also with partnerships. It applies completely because many of us end up taking on different roles, okay? So, okay, that all of it has served. All of it has given us very powerful experiential opportunities. We have grown. And, if we wanted to create variety in our life, we have achieved it for the most part, because what we did is we've taken on all these roles. But the call now is to create one role, one expansive, evolving role, which continues to expand in its accessibility, in its consciousness, and to create at that level, not any longer to take those experiences as it was. Now, the thing you want to understand, remember, all of these games that you step into at this point in time, you have to realize and understand that these games, these clusters and engagements are very old states. They are inverted matrix construct, inverted 3D and 2D. Now, there may be some individuals that are playing in organic 3D and 5D, depending on your connections. But at the same time, that cluster came about and has been held in place with that state. So, and even the old versions of you that you jumped into and internalized, and this is why we're going through this process of clearing out all of this stuff, is because they were all construct of different lower frequencies, lower access to consciousness that was prevalent in the inverted matrix where everything was backwards, and inverted 3D and 2D. So for us to be purified in the sense of stepping into that higher organic 3D and organic 5D state, it requires for us to do that, to let all that stuff go. And this is why there's been such an accentuation from the end of 2012 into 2013 and right up to now, which just keeps stepping up. And some have not done anything until just recently. Some have been on it for quite some time. So what's been happening is that we are being looking at, now it's gotten easier because first of all, the inverted matrix is no longer there. The planet is no longer supporting the inverted 3D and 2D. So we're basically only holding it together because we're still believing it's there. So, but the energies coming in has been much more powerful. And this is why we're feeling and experiencing more of this contrast within ourselves, more of these imbalances with ourselves, because we're elevating and all of this other stuff is from a lower state. So it's helping us to see things coming up to the surface. Now, a lot of the energies that have come in, a lot of the encodements and reactivations that we've experienced has allowed us to be able to move through it a lot quicker and to not even have to go back into all these past lives and whatever else. It's just coming up to the surface very powerfully to be visited, to be experienced, acknowledged, thanked, loved, and moved on. Go ahead.
Terry, because you were talking about energies there. Mm-hmm. Terry was asking, I read about really big energies coming in tomorrow and I'm feeling them ramping up already. Any information about that?
Yes. Well, we've just had some just started and we have another major burst. It will peak around 2 a.m. Eastern time. And again, the thing is, the energy is really to trigger within us and to reactivate within us a next phase of it. I don't like the word disclosure, but it's a more self-realization is one part of it. And the other part of it is because it's doing that, it's actually breaking off the support that we have been giving to the old structures. Meaning all the systems are held in place because there's many of us that have either all of our focus there, part of our focus there, or just a minuscule amount of our focus there. So this powerful energetic wave that's coming through, that's already started, because it doesn't just jump up, it starts to ramp up because it's a little hard for us to take a whole full hit. Now it's going to extend for a few days, but the first part of it, which we will feel later on, several hours from now, is going to be the part that you will feel the most, and it will also feel, and depending on where you're at, it can feel very uncomfortable and unsettling, because what's happening is it's actually moving within yourself the older stuff, but what is happening, it's re-energizing your essence, and that allows a broader perspective of things. And this is one of the reasons that we've decided to do this, because by stepping into seeing everything as a game and allowing ourselves to play at that level will be actually very instrumental, not just to move through this, to utilize it, to take it in and use it as a powerful tool, because it's there to really, really help us to launch even further. If you've noticed, there's a lot of polarities going on, and these polarities are accentuating. However, or have, in some cases look like they've peaked, but there's still some parts of it going on. And the thing is, with these energies coming in, it becomes more apparent for us, and then we have a higher power or capacity to make a choice. Do we give power to the polarity, or do we connect with ourselves? And that is pushing through us, it's emerging through us, so that we are that grounding, that we are that high powered energy, because the energy is flowing through us. Again, we're spirits, we're essence of creation. We are the actual creators, our own creation, and the observer of creation that is enlightening itself, growing and expanding, and much more powerful. So this is coming too. Now, the other part of it, this energy is also to negate, to facilitate in a very powerful way, to be able to take some more of the edge of the polarity, especially the lower frequency. That's really where the focus is. So the lower frequencies are going to feel an impact and create some more instability in that area, but also so it doesn't drop as low, it's actually edging it up even further. But you're going to notice, if you've got some really low energies within yourself, some really powerful, lower frequency emotional charges of anger, resentment, and judgment, and so forth, that's going to feel very, not only unsettling, it can get triggered just to come to the surface, but then it's important for you to just acknowledge its presence, let it be, thank it for its presence, because its presence, first of all, it's showing that old version that's not there, sending it love, and it just changes. It basically dissolves back into it, because everything is made from love. It doesn't matter how low the frequency is, but we've applied a consciousness to create an experience, and that's the only reason it's felt and experienced that way. Go ahead.
Going to ask, Amanda is saying she's trying to clean the closet yet getting lost in it. So what about people getting overwhelmed with all that stuff that's coming up that we need to clear? It can be overwhelming at time, and we can get lost in it.
Yes, the reason we get lost and we get overwhelmed is because we give it so much power. See, the thing is, we have to realize that these are just old movies playing out with us. And these old movies have emotions, they can have charges within them, they can have a lot of polarized stuff attached to it, so forth. So one of the things I can suggest at this point that is very powerful, and there are people around the world that are using it, and I've been sharing it for some time, but at the same time I want to make it even more a point, is to get to a point where you see whatever's coming up is just coming through you to be moved out. Okay? So we have this ego, we have this program that does not want you to let it go. So it's going to make it feel like we're overwhelmed, we can't handle this, it's painful, it's too much, or whatever it is, right? So with that realization, you go, okay, I understand where it's coming from. So it's very important to do some of the processes, as I suggested. One of the processes you can do is you can close your eyes, you can focus on the breath, and then you ask your soul, fully embody, and to align with my body, my human entity, and my mind. Activate home frequency, the highest frequency I can utilize and tolerate at this time so I can advance. Then at the same time, you can now, because your source essence, spirit essence, you ask your own spirit, your own self, I choose to activate within myself the highest source spirit essence, to merge through my whole representation of this holographic expression, or you can say body, human entity, soul, and mind. And then sit with that. Feel that energy growing. You can feel even a powerful light within your heart. Just see it expand. Okay? Then you're going to say to yourself, I am here to play, to advance, and to become a grander aspect. So whatever I'm looking at is my opportunity to blossom. You say that several times after you've done that whole process. And what happens, it shifts. It shifts how your body feels. It shifts how your human entity is engaged in it all. Your soul really ramps up. Your mind changes, and the ego has a less of a grip. Okay? So now when you're seeing stuff coming up for you, cleaning a closet, like you were stating, when you're going into the closet, okay, you're looking at as, wow, I'm just looking at all my old stuff. I'm just looking at whatever it is. And nothing is real. Those are just little movies with emotional charges. And I just can take it, appreciate, first acknowledge its presence, thank it, love it, and set it free. By doing that part of the process, then you're not going to get hooked into it. You're not going to end up being drawn into the closet and all of that stuff. The thing is, too, you don't have to dig it up all at once. So the same thing is you can take one at a time, right? But if you really want to have fun, dive into it. And then just, I don't know if you've ever seen kids, but sometimes kids love to dive into the toy box and just pull everything out, and just have everything scattered all over the place. And then they could decide what they want to play with, right? So you could do that. You could pull everything out of the closet if you want, or a lot of it. And then you can choose at one point or another, how do I want to play with it? What do I want to play with today or now or later? Okay, so the thing is, we have this mechanism that likes to project this whole being overwhelmed, it's big or whatever. I'm going to do another episode that will look at a couple of things that will also help you, which is basically the ideas of mistake, the ideas of self-judgment, the ideas of, what was the other thing? I had it all, wrote it down and don't remember right now. Okay, making mistakes and whatever else, and also, because we have labeled everything, right? And this is the thing. We condemn ourselves, we deny ourselves, or we see ourselves that we failed or that we made mistakes. Resentment, that was the other word I was thinking. Resentment, self-resentment, resentment of other playmates and so forth. So sometimes when you're cleaning the closet, those things are going to come up, okay? And look at it and say, oh, those are my old interpretations, my old labels, my old stories. Very cool. But when you acknowledge it and you appreciate for the role it's provided, and appreciate even if it puts you into a state of, what do they call it, trauma. Because appreciate the experience of trauma. It's so much easier when you see it as just experiences. There was no right, there was no wrong, there's no good, there's nothing about it. It was just an experience. The inverted matrix, the stories we have labeled it as good, bad, right, wrong. You were successful, you failed, you screwed up, you did this, you need to resent yourself, you need to resent others, and whatever else. Those are just labels while we were playing in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D and 2D. You're not there anymore. You're choosing to play in organic 3D and organic 5D, and what does it see? It sees a beautiful experience. Very charged, very tumultuous, whatever it was. It's like going to the amusement park and you're going to get on one ride that makes you puke or whatever it is because it's so intense. You could say, well, I don't want to do that one again, whatever it is. But at the same time, guess what happens? It was a beautiful experience. It turned your stomach and made you feel whatever you feel. But it was awesome. You would have never had that experience if you didn't take that ride. So anything that you've done in your life, the beauty of it is to realize everything was perfect. Everything was an opportunity of growth, or else you wouldn't have engaged in it. You wouldn't have chose the playmates. You wouldn't have instructed the playmates. You wouldn't have got lost in the games and stories and programs and so forth if it somehow did not serve. This whole idea that there is, light and dark and whatever. Yes, there is in the polarity world, but it's all from the same source. It's all just part of the dance and game that we've created. So it's not about condemning the dark and saying I'm the light. You're still fragmenting yourself. It's about merging it all together and becoming that one unit which is full spectrum. It does not emphasize separation in any way, shape, or form. That's your true state. So when you're going through the closet or anything else or whatever's coming up for you, and when I say closet, you're talking about your internal closet or any other closet, but at the same time, when it's coming up to the surface, see it for what it is. A beautiful, awesome experience. If you got some emotions attached to it, acknowledge it. Wow, that was painful, or I perceived it as painful. Yes, it was traumatic, and I've created a whole storyline based on that. So I acknowledge it, and I thank it for what it provided me. It provided me an opportunity, and it took a lot of resources, a lot of capacities for me to shape it that way, to be able to feel it that way, to get lost in the game that way for me to have it. Then blast it with love. Love, remember, all of your old stuff, you are blasting love to you, because anything that was created, doesn't matter who were the playmates, who was involved, they were only following the instructions you provided. You engaged only because you wanted to. You could say, well, I didn't know better. Yes, you did. From a higher perspective, you always did. It was never outside of you. But from my ego perspective, yeah, you didn't know better. But that was never a mistake. It was just an experience. And it also provided you enrichment. And now to be able to do what you're here to do more powerfully with that knowledge, with that capability, with that enrichment. Go ahead.
Jamal's asking, is there any way we can disable or disconnect from ego when doing the process?
Well, by just even doing the process, that overrides a lot of the ego. Okay? If the ego's jumping in and it's being like a little, taking a little tantrum or it's trying to distract you and so forth, acknowledge it. Don't fight with it. Don't get into a conflict of higher wits or anything of that nature. Acknowledge it. You can say to the ego, hey, ego, what do you got to say? Wow, look at this, good God, or whatever it is. I go, thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. But you can go out and play somewhere else. You're not required here right now. Okay? If you don't fight it and you blast it with love and you appreciate for the role that it's doing, because it is a role that it's doing, it's playing a program of some sort. Don't get into the clashing part. Don't get into, who's what or what's going on. Allow it to present itself. Acknowledge it. Thank it for whatever it's provided. Love it and set it free. Now, it's going to continue doing that over a period of time, here and there, and that's fine. But eventually, the more you do that without getting into the wrestling match, you will notice that it become less and less impactful because it feels that it cannot have a grip on you to the same way. Go ahead. You were going to say something? No. Won't have the same grip on you. So the thing is, it's going to come up, and it's going to play a particular role. So it's not a matter of, at this point in time, to get caught up in the game of it, is realize it's there. It is losing its power. It's losing its reinforcement. Now, ego supports itself only by you getting into the game of it. To some degree, it's a small fraction, but it likes to play with other egos. So it's going to find other playmates to get entangled with and go back and forth. But if you're not going to get involved with that by recognizing it, it loses more of its juice. Now, each time these energetic waves that come in is also, in a powerful way, influencing, and I say that very clearly, influencing its capacity to demise and to create instability to it. So sometimes it will react. Go ahead.
And I was just asking self-judgment, what's the easiest way to deal with it?
Well, if you have the whole idea of self-judgment, okay, that comes up for you, write it down. I'm judging myself. Then ask yourself, what am I judging myself of? What did I label, or what did I apply an idea or story or whatever definition of myself that I need to judge myself? And if it says, well, you're not good enough, or that you screwed up, you ask yourself, okay, you write it down, I screwed up. Then you ask yourself, where did I screw up? What did I screw up? You write all the stuff that comes up and start looking at it. And then when you start looking at the pattern it's showing and say, okay, well, I have the free choice right now to hold on to that story, hold on to that energy, hold on to whatever it is, or I have the choice right now to see it for what it is, an experience, a role that I took on, possibly somewhat unconscious role. Now, the unconscious role means that you're not unconscious, you're just using a smaller amount of consciousness, but you're recording that experience. So you're going to write down and say, okay, I made those choices, or I didn't do this, or whatever it is, or I bought into the idea of what somebody else told me that, whatever it is, right? So you're going to look at it, and you're going to first acknowledge it, thank that story, thank all the chains that are connected to it. If there was people involved, thank them. You don't have to communicate with them directly, but you thank the person that played the role. You thank every part of it, and then blast it with love. And then what happens is the judgment starts to lose its juice, its grip, its focus to be able to change how you feel about yourself. This whole thing about love and whatever, loving ourselves more and whatever else. I know I did one episode on how to love yourself more on the podcast. So that's Advancing Consciousness Podcast. It's on YouTube, and it's also a Facebook page that is also, and I think it's only just a few episodes back that I talked about that. But how do we, the whole thing about loving ourselves, don't even focus on the idea that you have to love yourself. All you want to look at this point in time is, what am I judging myself for? What am I labeling myself for? The reason I say that, you're already love. You're already all existence in its absolute perfection, no matter what the game or the experience is. The reason we don't love ourselves, what we think, that's an illusion, but it's an impossibility not to love yourself, is that we put layers and layers and layers of self-judgment. Labels of stories, ideas that we did this or didn't do this, or that we're not good enough, or whatever it is. I'm just using some simple examples here. So you want to get into the point of looking at that judgment and see it. It's a temporary, plugged-in idea constructed from the inverted matrix, constructed from the inverted 3D, constructed from and playing in the inverted 2D. Okay? It is not your true essence. It never have been and never will be. Could you imagine yourself as source? Because you are, but let's say you don't recognize that. Source mandate is, let me create playgrounds. Let me experience within these playgrounds. Let me see what roles I can take. And I can take whatever. I can shape anything and everything. And then it goes out and play. And it plays and it learns and expands and whatever else, and then goes in and creates something else and plays whatever. Is it going to judge in its creation? Is it going to say that was a good creation, that's a bad creation? No, it was a creation. That creation provided something. This creation is going to provide something else. It's not interested to see, I have to be perfect, or it has to be this way or that way. It says, let me try this out. Let me try that out. And that's you. That's all of us. Look at it this way. If you wanted to be on a playground in a physical form that did not have the levels of polarities and didn't have the inverted part, you wouldn't have came here. you would have chosen another planet. You would have been in a different physicality, different operating system, different matrix, and all of that. But you came here. Did you make a mistake? Absolutely not. You saw that this was a colorful ride. This had something that you couldn't get somewhere else. It was accentuated, but at the same time, it also had this opportunity that it was going through a transformation. And you wanted to be part of the transformation. Not only for personal, but to also upgrade all aspects of yourself that were already playing here, that come and go and so forth. This is why you're here. So remind yourself, I am Source. And we did an episode, a couple of episodes back, where I am, the I am was. So go back to that episode, because that will help you. Repeat that over and over again. It will dissolve self-judgment and judgment of your history, of your life. It helps you dissolve any story about yourself. So it's a few episodes back. Okay, Kimberly's going to post the link. The reason I am providing these tools, this information, which you already know from within, you're not utilizing yet, or you're accessing it more and more as you're going along, because it makes it so much more easily, or whatever you want to call it, it makes it easier for you to be able to move through all of this with much more ease and much more effectiveness without getting caught up in all of the stuff that's going on. Because judgment is a powerful one. It's a very, very disabling, I guess that's the word for it. Disabling force. Yeah, it's temporarily, absolutely. Temporary can be a while, but at the same time, we're on the fast track right now. And even this burst of energy that we're just entering into and has already started to ramp up is going to be very powerful to move you forward, but it's also going to show you some of the anchors that you may still have. So the thing is, it's not about judging yourself. It's about recognizing. This is the thing. You got to recognize who you are. You're this powerful being that has come here to play and has taken on a physical form and has taken on a certain position, has made arrangements for certain playmates to be in your life. You have positioned yourself in a specific gender. You have a specific race and a specific position on the planet to be able to be the most effective in whatever you came here to do. Now, yes, you have a partnership, which is basically your body's innate consciousness that's been here for the full 15,000 years. You have a human entity, which is a human so-called localized soul that has had 15,000 years of experiences also, but you're also combined with a multidimensional soul that comes from all different playgrounds and dimensions and so forth that is also coming to play here. And that combination is a unique blend to be able to do what you're here to do. Okay. Is there anything else?
Yeah,
we're good?
Another question here. I don't know if you want to answer it now or...
Well, let's give it a shot before I move on.
Okay. Just a minute. I think I've got a few questions now. Okay. Deepa is asking, is it best to not try and work out what to do with my life, job, purpose now and simply let myself get used to knowing my true essence? I feel like I am nothing in this time.
Well, yeah, this nothing at this time is very prevalent for a lot of people, because what you're doing is you're going through a transition. So the thing is not to be so wrapped up in the position of saying, I need to, go into this direction or that direction with my career, with my life, my relationships, or whatever it is. If things present and there's certain choice points, see it that, okay, if I feel drawn to go there, I'm going to do this temporarily. But the main focus is to work on you. Because while you're working on yourself, and I say work, when you're playing with yourself, we're basically discovering yourself. You're bringing to the surface that grander aspect. A lot of things actually change. Your viewpoint changes, your preference changes, your energy changes, and what you're going to evolve or involve yourself with, say individuals, partnerships, work, or whatever it is, may change. But the thing is, if you feel that it's a need at this point in time through this transitional point to take on a particular role, then do it, but do it in a sense where it feels much more at ease and say, okay, this is temporary. I'm going to step into this role, do whatever I need to do while I am working on myself. And then as you're evolving, bringing forth the you, then of course things are going to change, your preference, your point, and everything. And of course your playground's going to change. The people you engage with is going to change. Your opportunities will change. A lot of things will change. So, we're not going to be here focusing on, okay, I got to go do this to define me or anything of that nature, or that is going to be my new life stream. You have to understand everything at this point in time is all going through transition. All of it is coming into play and fading and so forth. We have like a whole construct of our whole playground of all the systems that exist, all the different operating systems, corporations, you name it. Everything is going to go through a transitional part. And we need to be playing with the transition without defining ourselves from any part of what was there before. Was there anything else? Okay. So this is the thing. Yes. So fundamentally, like even when I hear from people say, well, I want to get into a relationship and so forth. Well, the relationship will come about. I mean, it's not an effort to find a relationship. You're not to find anything. You're basically to find yourself. And really, you're not lost. You're just bringing that true essence to the surface. And how do you bring it to the surface? You need to let go of all of those other layers that you've put on. And those layers are definitions of yourself, things that you applied on yourself as, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever it is. And so it's like a flower or plant coming out of the ground. It's just coming out of the ground. So you're bringing that out and really radiate the beauty of it. You're going from that seed that, it's like the seed saying, well, I'm not only the seed, but I'm the ground, I'm the soil, whatever it is. But then it gets triggered to blossom, and it basically starts to extend its roots, and then sprouts the shoot into the space outside, and it starts to create its blossoming state, which could be a beautiful flower, plant, or whatever. And that's us. So it's really about, allowing that part of you to come through, and then just play with whatever needs to play along the way. But at the same time, that is the main focus. Was there anything else before I carry on?
One more, then you probably want to get on with here. Okay. How do we deal with others still in their story trauma? Do we suggest this way of being or leave it to them to evolve into? It is challenging when they're like a broken record to connect with them, especially when there is blaming of others.
Yes, that's a big one because a lot of people get caught up in that one. And that is, in a way, first of all, we have to appreciate that everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's going to have their own particular time period where they're going to break out of it. They're going to reach a saturation point and decide. Someone that will not reach a saturation point, that's fine, and so forth. So the point is, if you're going to be involved with anybody of that nature because it ends up being that way, you're still going to be yourself. You're going to allow them to be themselves, but at the same time, you can now approach them in a different way, in a sense, because when you are more solid with yourself, and somebody's coming in, like you were saying, a broken record, saying, oh, poor me, this is going on, that's going on, and you say, I appreciate what you're going through, and I understand what you're going through, but I also realize that at different times, I've noticed other people, or even myself, going through that path, but then I start to look at it and say, well, do I still want to play there, or do I want to look at something different, or something of that nature? You're not telling them what to do, you're just going to share your observation. But you share it to the degree they're open. If they're not open, that's okay. And I've done that for several decades now with families and friends and so forth. Now, the communication level is very low because in a sense they don't feel drawn to engage with me because of where I am or who I am or whatever it is or what I share really. But at the same time, I'm not there to change them. I'm not there to tell them anything. But at the same time, whenever they're going through something else, or through their experience, and I happen to be there, and we're having a dialogue or something like that, or, poor me and whatever else, and I can say, hey, yeah, you can continue playing that, but I've noticed that if you play there, you end up, just keep repeating it. And that could be a lot of fun. And if you're having a lot of fun with that, that's great. One of the lines I used to say, are you, when they're complaining and so forth, are you having a blast? Are you really enjoying this? No, I'm not. I go, well, okay, if you're not enjoying it, did you ever figure out that maybe we can change this and do something more enjoyable or focus on something else? Because, I've observed, if I'm not liking it, why would I want to be there? Always relate as your example or examples of others and whatever else, but not with the intent of, and you could say, well, if you're having a blast and yeah, I'm really enjoying it, or I'm getting this out of it, hey, cool, keep playing, have a blast. I'll see you later, or whatever. But you're not gonna lower yourself to play the game. You're going to go in, and you're not going in as superiority, or you're not going to go in and lower yourself. You're just going to go in as you. As you does not judge. As you does not put any emphasis on one way or another. So basically at this point, when you realize all of that, it really changes and makes the communication and the sharing and connection. If you are having buttons pushed or a sensitivity to different people, then you're realizing it or not, you may be judging them, or that you may have a story, in this case, a story or program that they're triggering within yourself. So you want to get a piece of paper as soon as you get a time and say, okay, I was communicating with my sister or whatever it is, or family or friend or whatever it is, and I was feeling disturbed, I was feeling upset, or I was feeling whatever. You write it down. And then you ask yourself, why was I feeling that? Well, they said this and that. Yeah, okay, so they said this and that, but what bothers me about this and that? You really want to get to the core. So when you get to the core, you're going to see the story and say, oh, what a cool little story that I've, engaged with. And it was an old construct, an old design, an old blueprint, or an old pattern, whatever it is. And that was pretty cool. So when you're discovering it, you're acknowledging its presence, where it comes from or it doesn't come from, whatever it is. Then you have an appreciation for the experience. First of all, your creation. Second of all, because you created it. And second of all, what it provided for you while you were there, playing that game, that old construct, that old model, that old pattern, whatever it is. And then have the appreciation and love for it. And then you can just let that part go. Just say, okay, good, I don't have to focus on that any longer. And you can move up the different things that you've written down. The reason I say to write it down, that way you can see the steps and stages of it, and it keeps you on track. You won't get distracted as easy, because it's so easy to get distracted and pulled off. If you're trying to do it in your mind, it's easy, because the ego loves to put little distraction, and you're focusing down a path, and it takes you off somewhere else. You've probably had it even in meditation, and you go, oh, did I go do this? Or did I do that? Did I forget to do this? Or whatever it is. It's going to throw certain things. Go ahead.
Okay, so this I guess will be last question, just so you
Okay.
can get back into it. But it also can be applied to a lot of different things, because Valerie's asking any suggestions on how to balance emotion and pain that comes up about the children who have been used for adrenochrome production, struggling with this. So, I mean, you can use that as an example, and it can apply it to a lot of different things that we have a hard time looking at or seeing and observing.
Okay, so the thing with that, all right, be open with this. If we're going to feel bad about it, and if it actually creates an emotional charge for it, then there's two things going on. First, we're reinforcing our story about it. Second part is that we are reinforcing that energetically, and you're also projecting a disempowerment to the children involved. You don't want to get involved with that. You're going to realize this is going on, and you realize that it's just a game, okay? But at the same time, okay, this is playing out. You're now going to step into an empowered state and say, okay, I've recognized this. Now I'm going to, and you can focus on, not to go save them, because you may feel that way, that you have the capacities to uncover them or whatever it is, at certain points, if you do so, or else others will step into play anyways, because there's already others doing so. But, of course, there's a lot more going on than is being focused on. But at the same time, what you're doing is you can connect with the kids, and the kids, you don't connect them as seeing them going through pain and suffering. You see them as beautiful aspects of yourself. You're seeing them as beautiful spirits. And you say to the beautiful spirits, I acknowledge you for the role that you've taken on. I acknowledge you for being exposed to that level of polarity. I remind you that you're an empowered being. I remind you that you have the freedom to change every aspect of it. I remind you that you are a powerful being that is immortal, infinite being. I also acknowledge you and thank you for showing that extreme polarity, for the opportunity to awaken the collective. By doing so, you're empowering it. But at the same time, you want to look at your stuff because you want to go from that appreciation, high vibration state when you're doing that. When you're doing that, when you're empowering it, they actually become more in the radar. And because of their vibration shifts, instead of seeing them as being taken advantage of, but also choosing to participate, because they are, but choosing to participate and empowering them, then the role players that would normally take advantage of them are going to find it much more difficult to do so. And even if they do, their vibration is high enough that it will not be conducive for them to proceed with that game that they're doing. Okay? But for you to access the most powerful state, you want to look it down and say, okay, I am feeling bad or emotional or something of that nature around the kids that are being taken advantage and used for various other things. So you want to write down, own that. What's your story? Why does it bother you? Well, I don't want to see other kids. Okay, that's great. What bothers me about having kids going through that? Because you want to look at your stories. You want to look at your programs around that. You want to clear that up so that you are now more powerful and you can be much more impactful to be able to shift that whole game energetically, consciously, and also possibly even take action if that's what may be driving you to do so, but not as the savior, but as an instrument to bring that more to the surface so there's even more attention taking place. But you're not going in, pour them or whatever it is. All of us, at one point or another, in some of the incarnations, we have gone through different things. I'm not saying that one in particular, but being taken advantage or killed or burned or whatever, depending on whatever role we took on and so forth. As you can see, here you are. You've taken on another role or whatever it is. They're just roles. Now, I'm not here to discount the fact that we are doing that and holding a very low energy because of it. It's now that it's being illuminated. But the only way you can illuminate it most powerfully is not for you to feel bad, but to feel that empowered state so that you can now be much more effective to do that. And this applies to anything that's going on, even specific family members or other people that you know, or clusters in different countries that are, doing other things that are torturing and whatever else that's going on. By your self-realization that you are this powerful being and that everyone is another aspect of you that is a powerful being, and seeing this as only a game, then you're sending a powerful transmission to all of them that you're powerful being, that you have the freedom to choose to support that game or not. And even if they chose, which they do, have chosen to play that role, they don't have to stay in that role. They can shift it at any point in time. The same way you can shift, everybody has the opportunity to shift. Because the moment someone says, okay, I'm done with this game, they can move on. But that reminder. Now, as people are going through this transformation, you're also noticing the need for polarity is not required to the same degree. And this is one of the things that even this blast that we're receiving now, what's today, the 16th? I think so, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. And even this blast that's, 16, 17, 18, kicking in into the ramp, and then it's going to carry on for a while. Because that's only piggybacking to the one that's running till about the middle of March anyways. But that's another major surge at this point. That's also bringing that more into the light. When I say light, to exposed mode, so that we can see it much more clearly and say, okay, we no longer have to do that. The thing is, if we're going to see it as bad, okay, then we're empowering that polarity. If we see it as a role that is awesome for what it is, but it no longer is required, we don't need to play there anymore, then you're empowering it. So you're saying, okay, now what can we do? Energetically, first of all, the way we see it is the first part. The second part, the energy and appreciation that we have for those roles, and the empowerment that you transmit to all these beautiful individuals that are playing these roles. And then also, if necessary, beneficial for you, I'm saying because there's going to be different people all over the place, to take some action, you do. But you have to understand, even if you don't take action, the fact that you see it in that fashion will bring other role players that are kind of positioned to take that role to go in and alleviate or remove those kids from those environments and so forth. Okay, hopefully that clarified it. All right. So today we're looking at shifting the game of life. Now, one of the things is, I don't have any notes today because we're going to be doing some processing. So shifting your game of life. As I was saying through this whole hour, pretty well, is that everything is a game, and we're shifting how we play the game, how we perceive the game, how we construct the game, depending on whatever game. Of course, the collective game, the different cluster games being countries, being communities, being family, being whatever. And that's what we've looked at. So one of the biggest obstacles we have is that we don't see it as a game. We see it as real. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a process. And again, if you're going to close your eyes, this is not the same as the one in episode 65. We're actually going to do this using yourself, your mind, and to be able to look at whatever. And then we're going to look at some of the things that are really intense for you in your past life, in your past, meaning this life, or anything else that's even projecting even from a past life, that has been an obstacle for yourself, and to see yourself in different environments, maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe whatever it is, and to kind of step into the role of it's a game and how we choose to navigate from that. So let's do that. Now, if you're driving or doing something that really requires your attention, I would not suggest for you to close your eyes. So in that case, you can keep your eyes open. You can repeat this later at another time, where you will go through the process of closing your eyes. Now, I've shared a lot of content with you right now to be able to use to get you prepared for it, but now we're going to look at the actual game. But we're doing this together. So I'm just going to bring my chair out so that I can also sit. Didn't need to hold that long. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do, if it's convenient for you to close your eyes, you can. If not, don't. Just carry on with whatever it is. Just listen to it, and you could still use your imagination while we're at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our attention into this experience, where you are now, whatever's going on. So let's look at the game of life. We're looking at your life. Okay? So with your eyes either open or closed, just look at whatever you're seeing within your mind's eye as your life, and what you're seeing in your vision. And let's step into it. Because when we see it as a game, it really shifts the way it feels. So let's take a look at wherever you are, either in your mind's eye or what you're looking at, and say to yourself, you could say it quietly, and if you're alone and you want to say it out loud, whatever it is, this is just a game. I am the designer and the participator of this game. And just allow your vision, your mind's eye, to look at your life as a game. And just remind yourself, this is a game. I'm excited to be part of this game. I am free to play with this game on my terms. Whatever I've experienced and has brought me here was a beautiful construct, a beautiful opportunity to experience what I experienced that could have not been experienced otherwise. And if you're feeling emotions or anything of that nature, that's just the enrichment of the game. And while you're doing that, I'm here to play. I am here to experience. And when you tap inside your heart, feel the excitement. We're using the energies around us and the energies within you to trigger this excitement. The excitement as a kid, because you are this beautiful kid, that is here on this playground to play. So envision yourself, whatever you're seeing around you and in your mind's eye, if you have your eyes closed, as you, as this kid, excited to do all that you can. The excitement that you couldn't do even more. The excitement that no one has any control over you and can tell you anything. They can, but it's not yours to take on. It's your freedom. Feel and experience the excitement around that. You are this kid having a blast, ready to play. Your playground is everything around you. So tune into yourself right now. Like just feel yourself. I don't mean tune in. Just feel yourself. Do you feel that excitement? I am excited to be playing. Anything that I've taken on as real, powerful, overwhelming, accentuated in one way or another are just the thrills. Are just my thrills. You could say that to yourself. It's my thrill to make this real, just to have the experience. Because I am here to play. Each one of us right now that's participating now and will participate later are contributing to this excitement. The excitement of all the possibilities. The excitement of using our advancing selves to reshape your life journey, your game of life, personally and all other aspects, every other clusters that you choose to play with. I am here to have fun. Feel the energies moving through you for that excitement. And to reinforce you, I am Source. I am the Spirit of Source, the Creator Spirit of Source. I am my own creation in the Spirit of Source. I'm here to observe my creation and to shape my creation and to advance my capacities to create and experience. In this game, I have no limits. I will introduce different facets of it as it feels in alignment with me. And the collective, as I choose to get feedback from the collective without limiting myself. And just pay attention how everything feels for you. It doesn't matter, even if you're doing a task or whatever it is right now, just see it as a game. It changes what it looks like, what it feels like. Even the disempowerment or the heaviness that you may have felt gets lighter. Even the stuff, the emotions and overwhelm gets lighter. If you're feeling depressed, yeah, you're going to acknowledge it, absolutely, thank it, appreciate it, whatever else, but remind yourself, this is just a game. I am free to play it any which way I choose. I'm just realizing this more and more. And should I have anything that comes up, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see what that is all about. And I'm going to appreciate what I see. But I see it all as a game. And if anybody tries to remind you that this is real, it's life and death, thank you, I love you. But I'm going to have fun because this is just a game. And I'm going to play wherever I go on my terms. So let's do something right now. If you can, the ones that have your eyes closed, and even if you have your eyes open, bring up a memory of something that happened to you in your past. Could be as early as yesterday or in your childhood or anything in between that was impactful, traumatic, may have been something that keeps coming up over and over again for you. Something that actually changes your energy or is actually fueling your depression or fueling a certain state of being. Bring that up as a memory. If you got your eyes closed, just imagine it, connect with that, see what's going on. If any emotions come up, just let it be. Just observe it. Let it come out. We're acknowledging it. It's there. We're not fighting it. We're not resisting it. We're not suppressing it. You can observe what was happening in that older movie, older experience. If there was people involved, see what was involved. Who was involved? Who was doing what? They can be present. Absolutely. You could even look at what you were seeing, how you were seeing it. Observe how it all felt. You can even look at the brightness or the dimness or anything in between of that scene. It's an older movie from an older state of being, but that's fine. It's still presenting, so let's play with it. Just be present with it. Now, while you're being present in all of this, say to yourself, this is a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful dance. It is a game. We're playing like we are in the schoolyard, playing with other kids. And these other kids are other playmates. It could be adults, it can be kids, it can be anything in between. Teenagers, you name it. It could be a bunch of rules that were applied. It's just a game. We're just playing with each other. We're playing within those rules that were made at that time. And yes, maybe I labeled it as good, bad, right, wrong, and that's okay. See it, the label. Oh, that was a bad thing. That was just a label. This is just a game. And while you're looking at the game, bring up the fun of that game. You're shifting the energy by seeing it as a game, but to have fun. You can even observe certain individuals just playing out whatever role if they were involved. Acknowledge their roles. Thank them for their roles. I thank you. That's a cool role. It was real. It felt real. Thank you for the role. I love you. You can play whatever, but I am now realizing this was just a game. We were just playing. And whatever I adopted at that time, I don't need to hold on to it anymore. With great love, I let it free. I dropped the labels. I dropped the definitions. Thank you. Love you. See you later. You will notice the shift that happens energetically, the shift within yourself. And this applies to everything in your past. If it's labeled as good, it's still a game. If it was labeled as bad, it's still a game. If it was labeled destructive, trauma-based, or anything like that, it's just still a game. It's just whatever we applied at the time, And there was no mistake even in whatever label you applied. But now you're seeing it just differently, that's all. Because it served the way it served, but it's no longer of service now. That's the beauty of it. Easy way to clear the closet. Just a game. Because that's all it is, just a game. A game we made real, and that was cool. And we can still make real, but we're not going to give it power or keep reshaping it or bringing forth what was adopted or utilized before. How could you create new when you're still focusing on the old? So now let's shift our attention to, say, a family gathering or a friendship gathering. This time when you're looking at it, see yourself there, feel yourself there. Remind yourself, this is just a game. We're coming together to play with each other. To play various roles, that's all. And we're going to play with the energies involved. We're going to play with the experience. And I choose to be myself there. I'm not going to take on any roles that are not the most purest, highest reflection of myself currently. And just see yourself playing, say, a group of friends or your family, whatever one you feel drawn to. Let's take a look at that. A beautiful game. You cannot say anything wrong. You cannot do anything wrong, because there is no wrong. There is no right. But at the same time, you're going to play at your state of being, which is not polarized. It's just free, explorative, adventurous, playful, excited, imaginative, creative, free-flowing, and a beautiful, powerful example of a higher state at whatever level you're at. So see yourself there, like that. In your family, friendship group, just see yourself there. Envision yourself playing the way you truly feel guided to play. With the realization that this is a beautiful dance and game with other aspects of myself. So let's spend a couple of minutes doing that. And while you're doing that, just notice how you feel, how your energy feels. Whatever level of excitement that you may be feeling. And you're free to express excitement. Expressing excitement with coming together. If you feel like hugging each other, you hug each other. yourself to be playful. Light-hearted. Not taking anything seriously. We don't want to densify our experience by being so serious. That was a cool experience for a long time, but it doesn't serve any longer. Doesn't matter what anybody says or does, all a beautiful dance. And if somebody steps up to you and says, hey, get real, do this, and whatever else, you can ask them the question, how do you do that so well? They may ask you, how well for what? How do you do so well that seriousness? I mean, I know I had my own, but I want to know how you do it. How you make it so real. What do you imagine? Creates a beautiful shift. So let's make another shift before we go on to the big one. Let's put our attention, say, in a work environment or some other environment that involves seriousness or something of that nature. We might just play with two others, this one and the next one, before we look at the big picture. So see yourself at work or with an environment that requires seriousness, but you're going to see it as a game. You're going to go in there and feel that smile in your heart and a smile on your face. Seeing it as a beautiful creation that you can shape, redesign, do whatever you need to. You have no seriousness that you need to focus right now, just the lightheartedness. And whatever task you take on that requires your attention, you do it, but you feel light and playful around it. And whatever task not only feels lighter, but you will access even more ease in doing it, whatever that task may be. So see yourself at work or with that group that you're with that has a particular purpose of some sort. See this game, feel that lightness. Be yourself. And while you're doing so, you can observe how people interact with you differently, or even the energy of the environment. Because when you go in that state as a game, in that state that you're there to have fun and to play and to use whatever, you're bringing the version that reflects that the most in that work environment. Because there's many, many degrees of that version. You can say it's parallel versions with different states, yes. The interactions and the roles with each other will change too. There's no seriousness there. So if somebody even tells you about a task, you say, okay, great, let me take a look at it. Let me see what I can do with it. And you take it lightheartedly, playful, excited. Because you have now this task that you can do whatever you need to do with it so that you bring it to some fruition of some sort, but at the same time enjoying every part of it without drudgery, without the heaviness and responsibility. You're doing it with playfulness. Big difference. It's my work environment, I gotta be serious. No. It's just another playground, another game. You can have fun. It doesn't matter if you're a surgeon and you're doing operations. Have fun with that. See what you can do while you're working with the individual. Just an example I threw in, that's all. The heaviness that we had before, the seriousness, the burden that we carried is no longer required. You have the choice. So see it as a game. A game that provides experiences. A game that's going through transformation, which starts with you. You're doing it. And everything around you shapes accordingly. And while you're there, it doesn't matter what anybody says or does or whatever they hold on to, you're still you. You're still this light-hearted, playful being. And things start to align more and more. Let's spend another minute in that environment before we shift it. How do we really live life, truly experience life, truly without limitations? Unless we're being ourselves, playful, and see it as a game. Yes, you can tune up your skill sets. Yes, you can do a lot of different things in that game. But you keep in mind it's just a game and I'm having a blast with this and I'm also growing and expanding and achieving higher levels of creation. So let's shift it back into an immediate family. Could be a family that involves children, could be a family that may have adult children, could be a family that has no children and just a significant partner, or just your own playground at home. By shifting and seeing that it's just a game and we're all playmates playing with each other, sharing with each other, creating the perfect opportunity for growth and expansion and so forth, let's see how that feels. The lightness, the feedback we get, rather than isolating and trying to always project out. Just be it. Be you. Be the essence of you. Allow everybody just to be their own essence. Be able to communicate with freedom, not heaviness and seriousness and heavily constructed terms of communication. Appreciating engagement and understanding from others, but not to internalize it and define you. Imagine letting your kids or other siblings or other people in your life, your significant other or partner or whatever, see them as a playmate of yours. And you are there to play. And you are also allowing them to play. The communication no longer has to be polarized and heavy and defining in any way. Just light, sharing, communicating, listening. Because there's so much enrichment in all of that dialogue that goes on. Their experience, not even their energy that are emitting, or what they're dealing with. We're all beautiful, powerful beings going through the motions of clearing out what no longer serves and reaching and accessing our truer self. Seeing everybody's an equal. Doesn't matter if it's your kids or not. We get this idea that we have to teach the kids, we have to shape them and so forth. You can share some of your experiences, but you're learning from them too. They're sharing from them. A lot of times those beautiful souls are more advanced than yours. And when I say advanced, they've accessed a little bit more consciousness and they've had more experiences than yourself. I'm not saying that's always the case, but at the same time to be open to that. Just because they're in a small physicality doesn't minimize their capacities, minimize what they have to share. You've come here to play together. So you see yourself with each other, just playing, experiencing, sharing, listening. And anything that comes up for you in one way or another, that's okay. You're going to clear that out. It doesn't serve you anymore. It lightens up the environment that you're in. It lightens you up. It lightens up the playmates. And if some want to hold on to it, that's okay. That's okay. But they're never going to be the same because you're coming in from a different state. Their version's going to change. It's not there to meet any requirement of yours, but there will be a much more powerful alignment. And you can pay attention to the energies, how it feels to be in that environment with those individuals. In your family dynamic, your immediate dynamics. Could be all by yourself too. Same thing even with the family, what we call the animal kingdom. You may have four-legged friends living with you. Be playful with them too. See them as just another contributor of your game and participant and sharing. They're having their experience. You're learning from them, they're learning from you. Everything is evolving and expanding. Let's have fun. Let's play, let's play, let's play. It's amazing when we're playing we evolve much more quickly. We expand much more quickly. We don't get caught up and get all sticky with different older aspects of our experience. We're able to look at anything that's happening and see it as an opportunity, as lightness, as playfulness. So let's shift our attention to the world now. All the beautiful, different dances happening all over the world. Different countries, different states and communities and provinces or whatever. All the different systems and so forth. And let's see it for what it is. A collage within the playground. Everybody's playing a role. Everyone is focusing a certain energy. Every system is a reflection of some other system or some other older aspect of ourselves. Older aspects of the game that is going through transformation. And through its transformation, it's going to go through various accentuation and deconstruction. This is your game, your movie, your video game. Doesn't matter what's playing out. See it for what it is, the game. Because as you see it as a game and have fun with the game, then this game does not control you. You're contributing to its transformation, to a lot of its levels of obsolescence. It's coming to the point it actually stops playing out that way. The various role players and so forth. Lockdown or no lockdown, political or non-political. All of it is just made up. It's only part of the game, the old game. We're not here to judge the old game, it's just to see the old game coming apart and it's reconstructing to a new game. Because the old game has been so rigid and so supported for so long, it may seem like it's hard to change, but it is going through that change. And it starts with all of us. So when we see it as a game, when we see it as a beautiful playground, the impact, the rigidity, the control that it may have had up to this point in time for you, on you, with you, changes. See, the game is staged to what it served. It serves many facets of you. The game is there to support you through this transformation. Because the game is only existing to the degree it does, to the layout that it does until we're done with it. And the accentuation is only that, an accentuation to exponentially provide us the opportunity to wrap it up, the old game and to bring forth the new game. You're part of that construction of the new game. And you're in charge of the game, starting from you and extending in different layers. And when I say in charge, you are shaping it, also allowing the game to shape without massive effort on your part. Because all the offerings from the media, mainstream media, from any media at this point in time, every offering of any reflection of the old world, all the systems and so forth, they're just offerings. You have the freedom to choose to buy into it, to dive into it or not. Or to see it for what it is. Made up construct of the old version of the game. I choose to shape the game on my terms. And my terms doesn't have to reflect the old game. It's the newest aspect of you that's emerging every moment. See it for what it is. Have fun with what's there, because the more fun we have it, the quicker it transforms. Because once we resist it and polarize it, we're still keeping it intact until we drop that polarization. And these energies are stimulating for us to drop the polarization and to reactivate that oneness, which is our true essence, our true operating system, even in this. So this whole human nature idea and concept were just that, ideas and concepts that were plugged in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D and 2D. Our true nature is not in that fashion. And we're bringing that true nature up into the game. You start with your game, yourself. How do you upgrade the game? Look at the game you played with. Look at what you've given power to, what you used as the shaping of your so-called reality game. What you've put so much focus, so much investment in. And say, okay, does this still serve? I have 10 things. Let me see which ones serve. And if they don't, acknowledge each one, thank each one, love each one, and then let each one go and let the new you come forth. You're the one that can do this. It's not done for you. Why is it not done for you? Because you don't want to experience disempowerment. You want to experience your true essence of empowerment. Doesn't matter what role we play with each other, it's always about self-empowerment, self-regulating, self-shaping. It's reminding us that we are source. We are the creator, the created and the observer of creation. And the cycle is just that. As the creator, you create, you experience, you advance, you do whatever. Through your observation of your own creation, you create you. You create your playground. These are just sequences of movies. They're playgrounds. They're games. When you bring that into reality and into your consciousness, then you not only tread lighter, you tread freer. You move through things quicker and advance even more powerfully than you used to. So here you are. You've got this to play with. This process we just did, repeat it. Take your time. See, close your eyes, envision every part of it. If it's something that's powerful for you, see it. Like for an old experience of the past or whatever may have happened or didn't happen or you thought should have happened. Whatever's there, see yourself there. See it as the game. Acknowledge its role players and everything else. Thank every part of it. First of all, you thank yourself for the construction of it, your participation, for your distributing of the roles to each other, the script to each other, the dance, thanking each individual to be able to play that role, to be able to make it so real, and the realism that you apply to it, and everything else that's happened. If it's emotions, thank the emotion, embrace the emotions, accept the emotions for that what it is, because it will dissolve. It was that creation from before. If you have fun and play with everything that you see. The thing is, we get into this work, it's really about play. Play with whatever comes up. Your history, your stories, your definitions, your ideas and perceptions and whatever else. The playmates and whatever else. The ideas that you failed, the ideas that you were successful, the ideas that you this or that. Play with it. See if it actually matches you in any way, shape, or form, or if it creates heaviness, and then just move through it. Let it free. Let it go. This is for you to use as a powerful tool. It's yours to play with. Share it as much as possible with as many people as possible. And people will take whatever they want from it. And if you missed episode 65, listen to it. It's just the one before, just a few days ago. It was recorded on Saturday. We went live. Then re-listen to this. And then utilize this process for you to become more empowered. That's why you're listening to this right now. It's because you needed to hear this. You needed to experience this because you're ready for it. That's why. You're ready for it. How much you use is up to you. But you'll use more of it. And it's a very powerful tool. The tool, we all can get powerful tools, but how we use it, if you choose to use it or put it on the shelf and forget about it, that's up to you too. But the thing is, the beauty of it all, doesn't matter if you put it aside, that tool is always there, but whatever you receive from that tool, is a part of it is always going to be active within you and will continue to grow. Everything that we're doing is stimulating within. Forget it, the energies are coming in, yes, absolutely. And it's playing a powerful role. Absolutely. No doubt about it. However, what we're doing now is also stimulating, planting seeds, reminding you, activating within you the true you, what you already know. It's just coming to the surface. It's dissolving all of those layers and perceptions and whatever else that we've taken on. That's all it's doing. So it's up to you. Go out and play. Play to your heart's content. You know what happened? A lot of people talk about afraid of death. What does it mean? That's an illusionary, inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D state of being. There is no death. You let different pockets of consciousness go wherever it is, but everyone that I've ever worked with, that we have had access to transitions from one life to another, each and every time they're in their non-physical form and they're just a state of consciousness, they see it for what it is. A game, an opportunity, a playground. Even some of the most close-minded experience, of life and death and evil and good and all of that stuff. Once they left the physical mind, meaning they left the ego mind, and some people were just in transition, they hadn't actually departed from the physicality, have realized, wow, this was quite a game, and I'm just getting ready for something new. The whole seriousness, black and white and right and wrong, good and bad and light and dark, all disappears. And it sees it all, this beautiful, beautiful rainbow. And when I say rainbow, we're talking about full spectrum of essence, of sourceness. Yours to play with. So, share. If you're new to this, subscribe. Click the notification bell. If you need to follow, comment. What are the things we do? Comment, whatever. Share, like, or dislike. It's up to you. It just allows more people to kind of see what's going on because we want to get this information out. Really, it's about all of us coming together. The more of us that are actually exposed to this, the more it triggers more people to come on board. Now, I'm not saying this is absolutely necessary for come on board because a lot of people are stepping in. There are other people that are sharing a lot of different content and so forth. I go as clear as possible. I go into the highest state possible to be able to provide this without the polarization, a deeper understanding and so forth, so that you have the mechanics of it so that you can go into the driver's seat much easier. It's really about you doing it. I'm just sharing what you already know, like I said, but at the same time, it's doing what I do. Now, in the description, in the body of the description, we have some words that we've shared, whatever it is, of what we got to play with. But at the same time, we have some links. A link to join the newsletter, which you'll get notifications should things come up. We have a workshop that's going to be coming up in the early part of March. So that way you can stay in tune. It also reminds you time to time of different shows we do and whatever else. So you can sign up there. You just put your first name and your email address. We don't bombard you or anything like that. You can use that. We also have a button where you can contribute to support this work, to allow us to reach more people, to support the platforms, to support ourselves so that we can spend more time to create more content. I'm putting all this content together. I know people say you're crazy to share all of that you're sharing. You should do all of this stuff in a workshop, let people pay for it, they can put value in it. And I can agree with that understanding, but at the same time, it's so important to reach as many people, and we don't want to have the monetary system interfere because not everybody's in a position to be able to do so. However, but if you are, you can contribute a small amount, you can contribute a larger amount. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. If it resonates, you want to support it, you want to continue. As you notice, if you go into the group page in Facebook called Advancing Consciousness Series, there are basically 80, 90 different videos. If you go to YouTube, where you're at now, but if you actually go to the channel Advancing Consciousness Series, you're going to see all those videos are there. Each one are different topics bringing you through this so that you can actually shift yourself and become much more powerful than ever before. We also have Advancing Consciousness Podcast, which is something newer, and that's going to continue to grow too. That's on YouTube. It's also on a Facebook group. It's called Advancing Consciousness Podcast. This one that you're watching is Advancing Consciousness Series. You can also access that, and there's information there. So if you support us, we can create, but you provide what you feel you want to provide to support us to keep going on. And I'm putting this content for free to reach as many people as possible. If you want to look at some of the workshops and so forth, we have, I think this is the last link in the body that you can access. We have a group that meets bi-weekly, I think it's bi-weekly, every second week, that like-minded people. We get on a Zoom call and you can join us. It's called Let's Talk About You. We talk about different subjects and so forth, and we do different things together. And we have, the next call is tomorrow night. And you can join us there. But also at the same time, when you go to that page, you're going to see a lot of different workshops that are there, which are basically workshops 1 day, 2 day, and some 7 day long workshops that have been recorded on video and audio recording. and you can access them very inexpensively and to be able to use a lot of these tools for yourself. Kimberly, was there anything that I missed out, need to share, say, do, not?
I don't think so, dear. I think you covered it all.
Okay, all right. Till next time.
Thanks for everybody just being here and
Yeah,
being part of it.
absolutely, absolutely. And we have another action-filled episode coming up fairly soon. We'll let you know when that is. Just keep tuned, especially if you subscribe, you get the notification. If you follow, whatever it is, you will also get the notification. But just check things. We try to do twice a week. I don't know if we will be able to do one on Saturday. We might do one earlier, or if not, it will be next Tuesday will be the next one that we will be doing. And we're just going to look at this whole self-judgment, resentment, and so forth. And we're just going to explore that or something of that nature. Anyways, until next time, go out and play and have a blast.